Hi guys, welcome to video 3 of our wedding photography workflow series. We're talking about creating consistent workflows, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I back up my images, what is my file organization technique, also what I do after a wedding day. So most of what's happening after a wedding day is backing up files, but I'm also sharing the images, providing sneak peeks, creating galleries for my clients and for other vendors, and so many other things. But before we dive in, I just want to quickly remind you guys that if you don't have the absolutely free wedding workflow guide that I've created specifically to go along with this series, now is the time to grab it. It's going to be for free for you guys in the information section below. So I'm going to walk you guys through how I back up my images. This is my number one fear in weddings, is that I will somehow not have the images. They will corrupt, something horrible would happen, and they would be deleted off of my hard drive or something in between. Now, this has never actually happened to me, probably because I'm crazy about backing up my files, but I've read so many horror stories that I don't need to experience it to know that it would be the worst thing ever. So I'm pretty serious about backing up my images. I shoot on a dual card slot camera, which means that it has 2 memory cards and it's recording on both of them. So I start with the 2 cards. When I get home, I go ahead and I back up all the images that I have taken throughout the day from both myself and my second photographer onto an external hard drive. Then I'm going to go ahead and upload that to a cloud source. So I use Dropbox, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as a redundancy of the backup that I have physically at my house. Now this is just in case my house burns down or my house gets broken into and my hard drives are stolen, because that happens. So you need to not only have physical copies, but virtual copies online. So if you've been counting, that's 4 backups. So we have 4 backups because we have card 1, card 2, hard drive, and cloud source. Now, I keep all 4 of these backups until the high resolution digital files are delivered to my client. So when I'm finished editing all of my images, I'm going to go ahead and export them and upload them to a gallery. I use Pixieset, and I'm going to link everything down below. So I'm going to give you guys a complete list of everything that I use for my business, the softwares, the apps, the programs, everything. So you'll get all of that below. So once I've uploaded to my gallery and I've completely delivered to my client and I've made backups of those high-res files, then and only then I will format the SD cards. I do shoot on SD cards, by the way. Anything can happen, but it's your job to go above and beyond and make sure that you have redundancy upon redundancy backups for your work and that your clients don't have to worry. So that's one of the big workflows that is on my agenda that I know I have to do for every client, every engagement session, every portrait session, anything that I'm being paid to photograph. This is the steps that I take. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about is the 24-hour golden window of relevancy, essentially. And what this is my theory that these images aren't going to be as relevant and potentially viral as they will be in that first 24 hours. So you have a bunch of guests at your wedding. They come, they have a good time, they dance. If you wait a few weeks and then share a sneak peek, people might like it. But if it's Sunday or Monday and somebody has the potential to share an image and say, hey, this is the wedding I went to this weekend. Oh, this is me dancing. And they were in the wedding and it was relevant to them. I think there is a 24-hour window where it has the most impact for all these other vendors as well. So if you're a florist and you do tons of weddings back to back to back all summer long, you may not care as much about a wedding that happened a month ago. But if I provide an image to a florist and they are able to get on social media and say, hey, this was Saturday's wedding, that makes them look relevant. So they're more likely to share it as well. So I believe that I need to share a sneak peek within 24 hours of the wedding day, and that's always my goal. So I think that that is something I just wanted to share with you guys, some thought behind why I do the 24-hour rule and why maybe you should too. So I make sharing vendor images also a part of my workflow. So when I'm exporting my images after I've edited them, I'm going to also export a select number just for my vendors. I'm not going to watermark them. I'm not going to make them super small or grainy or not usable. I'm going to give them great high resolution images. They're probably going to be sized for a computer screen, not for print, but they will look beautiful. Now I do this because I want vendors to share the images. And if you're logo's there, or they feel like they could crop it in some way. It doesn't look as good when someone's trying to get rid of your logo, and they're not as likely to share it on the front page of their website if it has a logo. So what I always ask for is just credit me. And you'd be surprised when you give someone a high resolution image and you say, please credit me, they're way more likely to use it because there's no watermarks, and then they also credit you. So it's a win-win situation. Your work looks awesome and they're happy. So I always share the images with the vendors that I worked with. I send them a little note, and I really think that it grows that relationship. You're way more likely to get some free marketing out of it. Now, I'm sure the watermark thing is debatable for many photographers, especially commercial photographers, but in the line of work that I'm in and the business that I've built, it's what I do and it's what works for me. So in today's chapter of the guide that you've already downloaded and you're following along, you can see a lot more about how I edit, how I call, and what my process is, but we don't have time to cover all of that today. I do want to give you guys one bonus tip. And that is when you create a vendor gallery of maybe like 75 to 100 images and you throw in stuff for your caterer and the florist and all these things, I'm not going to make them each an individual gallery. I'm just going to get the highlights of the day. They can go ahead and choose what's relevant to their business. One great aspect of this is now you have essentially a submission gallery ready. So you have your best 100 of the wedding, and you can send that off to a blog or a magazine or an e-magazine, and your work there is already cut down. You'll already be one step ahead when it comes to getting published, which we are going to be talking about in a couple of videos from now. You can get, of course, more of this information in the Wedding Workflow Guide, which is a free download. You can find it below. I will see you guys next week. We're going to be talking about album design, print fulfillment, and where that fits into your workflow. I'm super excited to have you guys here, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.